Okay, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order of the Trash and Recycling Committee. We're all here except for one member, Bill O'Neill from the Financial Board could not make it. We have results from the survey and I invited Becky to come from the select board because she's had some ideas about how to present the data like demographically. It's a lot of data. I don't know if everybody has heard, we have over 600 results, which is very good, which is really what we needed. We needed a good, strong input from the public. It gives us a good indication of what people are doing now, what they feel they can move to. And also it helped me a lot in looking through it all just to see that we still need to get out there and do some additional presentations and inform more and explain more about how this, take for granted that everybody understands how this all came to be, the history of trash as we know and love it. But we can jump right in on the results if we want to. So I'm seeing 625 street results. These are the streets that weighed in. They're pretty good across the town sampling. I scanned through that. I thought it was a good indicator, right?
Do you have a vibe on how many duplicate answers there were? Because there are some, for sure.
Oh, where it's the same person twice?
The same person putting the same answers in multiple times, yeah.
Oh, okay, so do we have street numbers in there? We do.
No,
No?
It's just by street.
I thought we had,
This is all raw data because we
Yeah.
have not shut the survey off yet.
okay, but when I looked at the Excel sheet, I thought I saw street numbers on some of the addresses, no?
Some of them, not all of them.
But are they, okay, so they're paired to the name of the street then?
It depends
It's
on what
one
they put.
field?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, we can sort by street. And you can look through for duplicates. And
Yeah.
you could definitely take them out
Okay.
in the aftermath. You could leave the raw data alone and make a
Okay.
copy. I would doubt that there's like 100 duplicates
Yeah,
on one or
it's hard
anything
to
like
know,
that.
but yeah.
I doubt that. 625 results is a pretty good amount. We don't tend to get that great an output from people. So I think that's okay, even though that we didn't think of everything like making them write their street number in a separate field as opposed to the street name. And that's, where the difficulty is, but we do know what street they're all on and it is a good sampling of streets. So the next question I thought was a good one, the current size of your trash and cart containers. Okay. So the 45% is the highest, right? It's the red, that's a 64-gallon container, yeah. And that makes sense, that's what we see out there when we drive around town for the most part, yeah. There's a couple unusual sizes that I'm not familiar with, but. Close
That's a
to.
good question. We don't know if there are multiple
Come on in,
barrels.
Joe. What's that? Grab a chair though. Oh, there's a chair there. What's that say again?
We don't know if there were multiple barrels per address, though, correct? Just what size.
That's actually one of the questions.
I think it's one of the questions, yeah. If you wouldn't mind, we need to bring some more.
I can
chairs.
get some chairs.
Yeah, and we'll pause for a minute and get a couple of chairs and. so that we can- It's gonna be very cozy, but that's fine. This is good information. Yeah, we do have a question on how many carts you put out, and we had a question on how often you feel like your cart is overfilled, that you're having trouble closing the lid because that's one of the things for automated pickup. They,
On a day like this, that the wind's been blowing it around.
I know it.
right, yeah.
There's trash everywhere because.
Right. My understanding is that when you go to these carts, they are actually really sturdy. I would hope, built to, to last.
Did you say when we go to the cart? So it's etched
When?
in stone already?
No, it's not, but if we go to the carts,
person
they're supposed to be
interested in-
incredibly clear. Yeah. Come on in. Thanks. Okay, so this is the current size of whatever trash container people are using. Okay, the next question. Wait a minute. Oh, recycling containers. Okay, that's kind of, we knew that would be a little bit all over the place. Some people are still using the bins, some people have improvised. That's not, and some people have just created cars, I think, which is understandable. Okay. Okay, how many trash carts do you put out each week? Do we have any kind of a summary?
This couldn't be charted because
Ah.
it's text,
Okay, so we might be,
but on the,
600 results, we could probably go in and stratify it. you
I
know what
was
mean?
cleaning the data. So
Well, you-
after you do this, yeah, you'll see I was starting some cleanup effort to get it a little tighter. So when you have the free text, you can't necessarily chart
Right,
it, right?
okay, so do you think we'll be able to stratify it a little bit to get a percentage?
Yes, I was starting to,
But right now, we can't.
right.
So we're looking at 600 results right now? Okay. We don't, yeah, we can scroll past this then. I don't think we're gonna gain anything by looking at 600 individual results. We have to work on that data. Okay, too full. Sometimes is 40%. Never is the green. Often is the red, that's 24%. And always is that 15? I got my distance. 18, thank you. Always is 18%. Okay. But now we don't know. We'd like to connect that to the one or two. Yeah,
Exactly, yep.
yep. Okay. Is your current recycling cart large enough? No, red. Okay, good. Okay, approximately 1/3 of our trash. Do you currently compost food waste? Oh, that's nice. Well, 30% said yes.
Yeah.
That's actually really
Really
good. That's, I think that's we can check on the the state website, but that might be better than most towns. Let's
But
see.
again, that didn't include garbage disposals, right? So
No, because that doesn't, where's that? That goes into your. The
Sewer.
septic
That goes into
sewer,
your-
sewer, yeah, that's not,
Most
So-
septic systems don't call for a garbage grinder.
Right.
okay. Okay, these are just comments, so we'd have to do something if we wanted to try and put them
Oh, so you should be
into,
the law.
yeah. Okay,
You saw that.
yeah, okay. I read through some of my comments. I like, a lot of people are saying, well, I'd be willing to learn more about it, I don't want to have to pay more for it. I understand that, yeah. It's understandable. Okay, and next question. How likely are you to reduce your trash output in order to reduce the cost disposal for the town? Unlikely. Okay. They're feeling like they can't handle that. Unlikely.
Or unwilling.
I don't think, I don't know.
How do you read into the answer to that? You can't.
Well,
Trash is gonna go somewhere.
it's, you have a certain amount of trash right now is the issue.
Mhm.
And it needs to get taken care of. And we're not offering anything else other than trash and recycling, which they already have.
There's really no place to drop it off. Like if you get overwhelmed with trash
Correct.
and living in the neighborhood, locally going to J Bell down the street in Georgetown, they close early because they get overwhelmed too.
Yep,
They're at capacity. So now what do we do?
And they charge.
yep,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they can just they charge you and it just shuts you up.
yep, I understand, yep.
Have a trash load of
Yep.
garbage and
Okay.
goes to go.
Okay, proposed cart size, no. That's a pretty strong no. If you answered no, would an additional cart for additional fee satisfy your household? No, I'm assuming it's the fee. Okay. Oh. I see some 96s, that's huge amount of trash,
Yeah,
okay. I hadn't anticipated that. Okay.
Family of five, 96 would be very easy to fill up every week.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but likewise, I have a family of five. I have two 64s and both are overflowing every week. Recycling and trash.
Trash, wow.
I have a family of five. I should qualify. I had a family of five. Two have moved out. But I put out one trash barrel and the rest was recycling.
Yeah.
So it can be done. You just have to want to do it.
Hmm.
That's the thing. People have to really educate themselves about what it is they're putting in the trash can. It can be done.
Well, I also think that if you have a family of five and two of them are in diapers, that makes a huge
Yeah.
difference. you know.
I've lived there for 20 years. I get it. I understand, but it can be done.
We're gonna go through the survey results because we really allocated this meeting to get through them. And there'll be more meetings, trust me. This is the beginning of getting information out. Okay, and household members,
This should be cleaned up too. So in the spreadsheet, I started to clean this up a little bit because I think this was free text. So some people put like two
Okay.
pets a dog or.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are you able to do this by yourself? Are you sure? You want help? We can talk about it.
Yeah, I got it started, but
What is the age of the head of your household? Okay, so this. Okay, we got 7%, semi-cup holder, 65 to 74 blue, okay. 23% green. I mean, honestly, this looks pretty close to the town demographic, Rebecca. Like I looked, you had some data, some town demographic from Clear Government. Have you seen that data yet?
I don't think I have looked at that yet.
Okay.
It's probably there. I
This,
should look at.
these percentages are similar to, I think they're close, yeah.
Yeah, so
The
everybody's
ages that of
45 and
people,
older.
yeah, exactly. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's good. Leave it alone. I wish we could leave it as it is. Wish we could. Ah,
And that's the end of it.
Address.
is that the end of our survey? Okay. So, first of all, thanks for coming down. Appreciate any input, even when it's, what are you trying to do to me? Okay, I'm Kathy Castronellis and I'm on the trash committee. And let's introduce ourselves.
Stephanie Bartelt.
And are you representing a citizen?
Yes.
Yes, okay, citizen representation. You're a visitor, Becky,
Visitor.
Jan Dempsey.
and you're representing resident of town, right?
I'm
And,
David Greenbaum, I'm the chair of the Board of Health.
right, and we have one other member who's from the financial board. So when we set up the committee, we tried to, get resident representation, finance board representation, Board of Health representation. And we also have Arthur often visits us from the projects and program management side, and Rebecca is our town administrator and does everything else that needs to be done in the town. So we started this process. I just by mistake almost opened the wrong agenda over a year ago. And during that time, we've had multiple speakers. We've done a huge market survey of all the contracts around, of contracts that are just becoming renewed. Rebecca has been also researching that heavily. And so everything that can possibly be done is being done to make sure that we get the best possible trash and recycling contract for the residents for the next 5 years. But one of the overriding factors that popped out right away is you can't just go from one small town to another small town and compare the contracts because they have all kinds of little clauses in them. Some of them have a separate hauler versus a recycler. And then depending on the hauler, if they're doing the recycling, they have other clauses they put in. And our town administrator has been actually going to, is it monthly hauling meetings, I guess you'd call them, to get more information, get more education, because this is not a field that any of us, were educated in to begin with. So one of the things that I looked at just before this meeting tonight, because I thought, okay, we got to start to talk about some of the problems. If Rebecca, you can access our site, right, on your computer now. I put this in just tonight into our trash and recycling website. And it displays better on a screen than it does. If you can see it, it should be further, it's not in a folder. I didn't folder it, so it's gonna be further down. It's gonna say the years 2018 to 20. That looks like it. Yeah.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay. If we can come up with, okay, so if we could blow that up even bigger and bigger is better, bigger. How big can we get it? Not that big. That's my problem, probably. That's as big as we can get it. Oh,
I'm scanning them with your pop-up.
okay. Oh, great. That's actually better. So this is, whoops. Okay, so over this years, we struggled with this and thought about, okay, what can we do? What can we do? We've looked at the cost of our curbside pickup. And as you can see, you know, it's skyrocketing. It's over $500,000 right now, and it's still going up. And there's no end in sight to that escalation. I mean, not that we have found, and more importantly, our town administrator who's been involved in meetings with the hauling is reiterating the same thing. This cost of manual curbside pickup is going to escalate beyond what we can fit in the tax rate without an override for it. So we're trying to get public input. We don't want to do this in the dark. We don't want to force anything onto anybody. But from a budgetary standpoint and from a responsibility standpoint, we have to be realistic about what's going on with the hauling of trash. And I know we need to get more information out to the public too, so they can kind of weigh in and say, okay. What I brought for the committee tonight to take home as homework, I do have it on the website, but I thought it'd be easier to print it, is Boxford recently went through this whole thing that we're doing.
Thank you.
Same type of thing, committee of people, almost the same makeup of the committee. And they were trying to go back to what they were already doing, you know, the manual pickup, and they had to stop. You know, because the cost went right through the ceiling when they went out to bid. Our town administrator will be the person who does the negotiation. She's far wiser than any of us, and she's trained in all of this. And her concern, if we don't move towards an automated, is that there will be haulers that won't even give us a proposal. They won't touch it because of the manual labor involved in having to man that truck. And the liability of, you know, people getting in and out of the trucks on busy roads and throwing things in the back of a trash truck. I mean, those days are dwindling, but I mean, I'm more than glad, you know, to keep researching, and we do need to do a public presentation and to present towns that are maybe still doing manual. I'll look for them. We'll try to find them. We're looking for everything we can find. And we've been looking for over a year. So we're about ready to start. The reason we did the survey, because we wanted to make sure that, you know, people had a way to tell us what they were thinking. And even if it's, I don't want any of this, I get that. You know what I mean? Change is hard. If I weren't on this committee and involved with the town, I'd be like, what's wrong with you people? You know, my taxes have certainly gone up. Why can't you just pick up my trash? And the answer is, you know, we are restricted to only 2.5% increase per year without overrides. And that's not a lot of money on a $20 million budget. It's not that much. So it doesn't go very far towards increases that are looking like this. There's obviously been a huge escalation from before the pandemic to after the pandemic. And I think we've all seen it too in the market too, right? Costs of everything have just gone sky high. So this is not a shock to me, really. It's tough, it's difficult, but this is what's happened. We can't change that. We can only pivot and try to come up with various proposals to see what people would most likely be able to work with. And unfortunately, I mean, there's certainly gonna be some residents that might be left saying, I don't like this. Boxford did give people the option to opt out of the contract that they just went to. I can call up and see if anybody did. If you opt out, then you're on your own trying to, you know, coordinate your trash pickup, which is not what we want to do. We've always managed to be able to get this together, but, you know, prior to 218, we weren't seeing these kind of increases. They just weren't happening. Yes.
So we have the historical cost. Do we have any estimated proposals for what the automated haulers would cost with the scenarios in front of us with the different size barrels?
It's gonna be far less expensive.
Right, so
No, right.
I'll share this.
And I
take
think
this
that's
home.
the,
This shows you what Boxford said they were saving. I don't want to go on record and
The initial-
say what we're going to save for sure. I know
Photo
it's
that we got. so-
going to not be like $10,000. It's going to be
150.
over $100,000. It will be.
based on which scenario, the 35 trash and this.
Oh, the size is.
Automated period.
Just the automated. It's the size. is
Automated
no
period
more.
is gonna save the town right off the bat, 100 to 150,000.
So the size of the barrel doesn't impact the cost of the pickup?
No,
No, not that we're aware of at this
No.
point.
Okay.
Do we
Okay.
pay for a tipping fee with the garbage that they do pick up?
yes.
Yeah,
So it does matter
the
how much
tonnage.
is out there.
Well, yes, and
Yes.
that will be the second part of the, I haven't done it yet, but I have the charts and so does Rebecca of the tonnage over the years, and we're gonna take a good look at that. Because the tonnage cost is going up too. Not, I don't think it's as rapid as this, is it? Or do you have something on that? I didn't have that prepared. I don't have a chart on that yet.
So I would think everyone would be in favor of the savings for the automated pickup if that, because that's clearly better for the town in multiple ways. Is there a differentiator with the automated pickup of a smaller barrel plus bags on the ground for people that can't fit in the 35? Because I'm assuming there's a surcharge for that bag pickup.
Yes.
That would
I believe-
add cost to the town if we don't have a big enough barrel to track.
We're guessing, but our town administrator has had some conversations and there has been some indication that they would charge for the overflow bag.
So in the long run, it may be very well worth it to have a bigger size trash barrel to equal to the bigger size proposed recycling barrel to avoid the extra cost with bags on the ground.
Except, this is simply said, so,
I thought that there may be.
well, here's the thing, we can negotiate a contract and we can know for the next 5 years what the pickup cost is. We got that.
Mhm.
And what we've been struggling with, especially post-pandemic, is tonnage. Cause it varies and we can't predict it. And it's difficult to budget for, and recycling, cause it's market driven. So, you know, if we try to fit all that into the town budget, you'd have to err on the far conservative side, which means we're taking money away from public safety, education, human services. We would have to accommodate,
Right, but we just said that we're getting a savings through automated, which is fine.
right,
But and now we're just talking about the size of the barrels to avoid additional pickup of bags on the ground.
Can I just mention one thing also that
Yeah.
the state of Massachusetts ships 45% of its trash out of state.
yeah.
So we can't, we
There aren't.
have to get our trash down.
Okay, if you want to speak one at a time, say your names and what your points are. So do you want to go, David, and then you want to go? Sue?
I mean, that was,
We
I
didn't
think
hear what you
he's
said.
restating.
I just said they're not permitting any more landfills in Massachusetts.
Right.
So, and incinerators are gonna go the way of the dinosaur as well. I think the goal of the program is to reduce what we're actually putting into the waste stream. You know, you see the symbols, reduce, reuse, and recycle. Even recycling isn't the golden bullet it used to be. But it's still better than trash and solid municipal waste. So the idea is to go with a smaller trash container and a larger recycling container to advocate for recycling and putting less into the waste stream. That's the goal. Now, is 35 gallons the actual size barrel? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a 64 gallon. I mean, right now, it's supposed to be one 64 gallon or two 32 gallon barrels. It's supposed to be a total of 64 gallons now. So going down one barrel while it seems hard, it may not be as hard as people think. Again, it's a proposal. Is that the answer? I don't know. Is that the answer? That is what it is right now. So,
So I'm Steve Rivers from Clark Road.
Yep.
Do we know what the cost is or what the revenue generation is from people buying the bags at Jerry's and?
Right, it's, right now, they're very inexpensive. It was $12.50 for 5 bags. So I think that comes out to, is that $2.50 a bag?
yeah, something like that.
I always remember numbers, not names, numbers. So, yeah, so, but, going forward, probably overflow bags will need to increase in cost. Perhaps like $4 per bag. I mean, some towns are even higher, but, that's it. And the other, there's a lot of other things out there that are also moving at the same time. We've met with people that are trying to encourage the state to provide more grants so that we can provide maybe a composting service free of charge for people that wish to do that. Right now it costs to do it. And I jumped on it just because I've never composted anything in my life. And I wanted to see, how does this thing work? How difficult is it? How much of my trash does it reduce? And I'll be honest, it significantly reduces. The only thing that I ran into as a problem, I'll be honest, I went to the bi-weekly pickup because I didn't want to pay the full cost. And in the summer, yeah, it gets got a little smelly. So weekly would be needed, I think, because when you put, meat and vegetables and everything into those composting bins, you don't want them sitting around for too long. Yes,
And I apologize, I should have introduced myself for the record, Chris Goodwin, Hillview Drive.
yeah.
So with the additional bags as well, I understand there's a purchase price of those. Does that offset the cost to the town to have those manually picked up from the street on College? Or is that just,
Right.
you pay for the bags in order to have the town also pay more for those bag pickups?
So these are decisions that we're still trying to decide. I mean, a lot of towns have gone to like, some type of a flat user fee, whether it's based on whether you get 235 gallons or whether, if everybody gets the larger one, if that's where it goes, the user fee would help us, budget for the tonnage. Because we'd have a revenue stream separate from the town budget, so you wouldn't have to worry about your trash services being cut when other, budgets become difficult. The idea would be to protect, we definitely budget for the trash pickup services.
All right, so the bags don't impact our cost from the hauler, that goes into a fund to offset that cost.
Well, we'd have to create a user fee. Right now, they would just charge us and we couldn't possibly budget for how many overflow bags are gonna, see, all these things, that's where it kind of, we're still, looking at all the different scenarios and coming up with what are the possibilities. I mean, I think one of the best things is bring the carts right in here and look at them, because there's nothing seeing is knowing, and it seems like a bigger recycling cart, at least that much of the decision making seems to be positive. I know there's been
Everything stays
some,
dry,
excuse me?
plus everything will stay dry.
Well, yes, that
which is
too,
really
yeah.
important.
And I know there's been some push to put a ballot question out on that. I know from a member of the board. So I've given that consideration too, because ballot questions have to be specific. They have to be something that can be decided, right? So if you put a ballot question out that says, do you want to just change your trash services? And everybody says no. That doesn't solve the problem of how we would pay for, that escalation in curbside pickup. We don't have that money. We don't have the money in the budget. So the only ballot question that I could think of that you could ever put out there would be to ask people if they want to vote and override every single year to pay for their curbside pickup. I mean, I would vote no on that. I don't think I'd vote an override for my trash. If I had other choices, if I had other reasonable choices. And I know people are looking for reasonable. Yes, Joe.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, well, I just think, we're not unreasonable people. We're not trying to force anything down anybody's throat, but we're also been looking at this for a year and just coming around the circle so many times, We thought it would be a matter of comparing contracts and just say, okay, which one looks good? It's not that simple. There's so many variables in these contracts, and fortunately for us, our town administrator, because of going to these hauler meetings every month, has become really well versed in the language of these contracts. So I think once we get a good enough sense from the town about what people want to move to, then she will be able to start negotiating and get us some real costs. And maybe we'll see them and go, oh, no, that's not what we expected. Okay. Then we go back to the drawing boards. We've got time, and this contract runs one more year, is it?
Another fiscal year, so.
Yeah, we have one more fiscal, so we're not at the deadline. We started this really early on. Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Do they serve food at the hall meetings? Joe Demore, I'm 9 Cherry Tree Lane. I'm also privileged to be your town moderator. Consider that if, let's say that this year, it's not gonna happen. Get any hate mail, but can you imagine what a big issue it would be if the school administration was looking for an override this year? Would that be a big issue at town meeting? That'd be like huge, right? People would come out of the woodwork. It's probable, I can't guarantee you, but it's likely that the MBTA Communities Act is going to be a warrant, an issue at the town meeting. That's a big issue. It is likely that the accessory dwelling units, ADUs, will be a big issue at town meeting. This issue is never going to come up at a town meeting, most likely. People need to understand the decision is vested squarely in the select board, under advisement from this committee, to be executed and negotiated by the town administrator. So people need to understand that. That's why this survey is so important, because these people have been working their butts off to try to bring people into the conversation and into the final decision. But it ain't gonna happen at the ballot, and thankfully, I don't have to deal with it at a town meeting, especially in a big year like this year with a couple of big issues coming. So that survey is very, very important when it says, for example, that most people said, no, I will not compost. Now, it appears to me, please correct me if I'm wrong, but the committee is trending, which I tend to agree with, it is trending towards the 35-gallon barrel. The 35-gallon barrel, correct me if I'm wrong, will also bring in some grant money. Correct. Yeah.
Right, I have a question out to the
Okay.
state, so I don't want to say that we may not be locked out if we change the size.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
So
I've
if we,
asked them.
if we bring in the 35-gallon bucket and the 64-gallon,
96,
94,
90, whatever.
whatever the hell it is, excuse me.
Big,
The big thing there.
yeah.
That'll bring in some grant money. But we also, I think, need to let people know that we really, I think, would like to have people think about modifying their behavior. That's really what we're trying to do with the 35-gallon. We're trying to tell people, we got to save the earth. New Hampshire said, don't bring us any more trash. We're done. We're not building any more landfills. We got a big problem here. And I don't want to be the town moderator every year, like Kathy said. Raise your hand. Are we going to go with an override because the trash is getting more expensive? So we need to be very clear as to why this committee is trending. It hasn't made a decision, but trending towards the 35-gallon, because we're trying to trigger as much grant money as possible and also get people to truly modify. My wife and I are crazy composters. We love composting. I mean, I stand on top of my Amazon boxes and crush them and, make them small. I mean, our behavior has been modified. We grew up in Everett. There was trash all over the streets. We moved to Groveland because we didn't want that. So we welcome this opportunity. Of course, the two of us is fine, 35 gallons, and I get some families that's not going to work. But let's be really transparent as to why we're trending towards 35 and let people know. Otherwise, if we don't fix this problem, I'm going to have a big problem. I'm going to have sleepless nights as your town moderator, where I'm going to have a big event going on every year. People are going to be fighting and screaming and yelling that we have to ask them to raise our taxes, override to pay for the darn trash.
So,
Yes, go ahead. And
so
then you can-
we get a small barrel like that, which doesn't work for my household. We then have to buy bags. We're not really doing anything to reduce it beyond
No,
what we're
you're not
already doing
reducing,
to reduce it.
right.
But you're shifting the cost to you though versus.
Yes, but
town.
is that fair? We're already paying taxes.
Well, yeah.
And so what I'm suggesting is get the larger barrel, make it a phased in approach where we start with a big barrel and work towards educating the public, getting people to be better. Because Saturday mornings, I'm out there cutting all my Amazon
Right.
boxes, like the little squares that fit.
Right.
But the trash there's very little. of it.
Right, so logistically, like, that was one of my questions to the state that I still have to kind of go back and reread what he said. And of course,
Well-
our town administrator has to say logistically, if it's possible, to let folks choose, and if you chose the bigger, that might have an annual fee attached, it wouldn't be.
To the
huge.
residents.
Yeah, it wouldn't be huge, but then if you were to go to the smaller cars at some future point, then you would say no more, I don't need the bigger cart anymore. But I don't know if logistics wise, if you know what I'm saying, like for planning purposes, you can see she's biting her lip already, if we can even do that. So we are exploring all different possibilities. And when you say, okay, we save money by going to automated, so in the first year that we need to purchase the carts for everybody in town, that's what we would want to do.
'Cause-
Right, but we're doing that anyways.
Well, no, we're gonna have to, I think, but we wanna make sure that people understand why. I don't want people saying, I don't understand why you're doing this. I already pay my taxes. I want them to understand why. There's two huge problems. One is that huge increase in cost from like 200,000 to over 500,000 and still going. And the other is the haulers that won't even bother to make a proposal for a town if it's a manual pickup.
So maybe-
But what if another cost saving method would be to tell residents you have to buy at Home Depot your own barrel, giving some standards, like I did. I bought my own tipping barrel and mine gets.
I
tipped every
believe,
week.
I'll check with her, and then it's your turn, because I know you've been waiting patiently. Rebecca, we can't let people buy their own stuff. If we go to the automated, it has to be the standardized from the,
From my understanding, you would need to provide the residents with the means in order to dispose of their trash, and where some might be able to purchase that without ensuring that everyone has the same barrel, it would become a little problematic.
yeah, that's what we're thinking. Okay, your turn.
Be full of everybody's trash barrels.
Okay, thanks for waiting.
My name's Elaine York and I'm in Abbott Circle. So it appears to me that we have the 64 gallon limit now.
Yes.
By the survey, it says that everybody wants to keep the 64
It sounds like
limit,
most people do. yes.
but as we're leaning towards the 35 because we're gonna train this whole town
You know,
to compost and recycle so that everything fits in a 35 gallon. That, I don't believe there's any way that that's gonna happen.
And you might be right. I think, I mean, this is our first look at the whole
Yeah.
survey. So, I appreciate your candor. But we're also just trying to keep all of the avenues open for the town, so that if at a future point, there is a way to divert more things out of trash, or if people that manufacture the products we buy would stop using so much damn packaging on it, that's another problem. When you buy something and you open the box and inside's another box, you buy something frozen and there's like 3 boxes. Why? It's so much packaging, and it's excessive, and we saw during the pandemic, it went right through the ceiling.
I still think that every scenario that I've heard is gonna cost us more, it's gonna cost us money, whether we have to buy bags, whether we have to join the compost. I remember when that came
Right.
out, we had
Yeah.
to join the compost program.
Right.
It's like, we're the 625 people are telling us that 64 will work.
Right.
So I think this leaning towards 35 is just gonna cause a huge rigmarole. So where we need, as a town, to start leaning back towards the 64. I think that's gonna make more sense in the long run and save a lot of headaches and forget about the 35, because I don't think there's any way that's gonna happen.
Okay, I just hold your thought for a minute. So, again, we are looking at everything and we are considering every input that everybody's given us. And I want to be really transparent and upfront and honest that trash, it's not going to, when they say like, okay, in the 5-year contract, the automated pickup saves money. Yes, we have, by avoiding $1 million pickup cost that we couldn't possibly fit. It's an avoided cost. It's not money in your pocket. It's like a planning budget cost that you want to steer away from. And I hear you about the 64, and I'm certain this committee will consider all possibilities to try and accommodate the majority of the town so that we don't want people opposed to the new contract. I'm not gonna say you're gonna clap your hands, because unfortunately, there's most likely will be with a 64, some kind of a user fee outside the tax rate to ensure that we can afford the tonnage. Because with the 64 comes the tonnage that we're dealing with now. That's escalating. So it's a tough budget thing, the hauling cost we can control. We know what it is. The tonnage cost, we sign a contract, but there's a lot of clauses in it.
Well, the more we throw away, the more we pay.
Right, but there's also there's
no
a
doubt
lot of
about
other clauses that they hit you with, different fees. Environmental fees, fuel fees. Once I started looking through how much we're paying for the trash, I almost went out of my mind. I thought, how do they get away with this? But we're at their mercy,
I think,
because we want trash. And I'll let Jack.
She was next.
Yes, thank you so much. Go ahead.
No, at the risk of dating myself,
Go for it.
but I went through my records and I don't know how many of you remember before we even had curbside recycling in Groveland.
I
Does
remember.
anybody remember that?
When we drove down here.
And
It was-
we had this amazing committee,
Yeah.
a bunch of us, we were on this committee and we started recycling drop off here behind Town Hall. And I didn't realize, but I looked at my records, it went from 1990 to 1993 that volunteers were, I think it was like every other Saturday. And we even had a tire drop off week. All this stuff. And it just gave me a lot of hope because there was a will there in a way. And eventually then that's when we got the Board of Health, I believe, got the grant for the recycling bins.
Yep.
Which we're at a point now where we need to improve that, but that was a huge improvement because then we had curbside recycling.
Yeah.
But it took a long time. It took a lot of effort. It took a lot of people really working together, but it gives you hope because it's possible. It's
Right.
possible to look at problems and try to think of creative ways to solve them. And I think we can do it as a town. I really think we can look at this and work together on it.
I do miss flinging the bottles.
You know what I don't miss?
Smashing them.
I don't miss taking off the metal rings around the olive oil.
Oh,
So some of the things that have been going on that you must not have noticed is the clothing and shoe bins around town. Rebecca's been really out there pushing those around, and those, anything you don't want to donate to somebody that you think maybe can never be used again, clothing wise, cloth wise. I throw a bunch of it on the floor of my car, and then when I drive by one of the bins, I get out and chuck it in there. It helps. Other ideas we're open to. I know some towns have allowed residents to, if they have overflow recycling, like bring the cardboard to a common site in the town. We're gonna look at everything we can possibly do, because this is the trash and recycling is a crisis. It's bad. Yes, go ahead.
Chris Goodwin, Hillville Drive. I think what would help people, and myself included,
Yeah.
is seeing, although I know we haven't gotten the exact proposals yet, because we haven't gone out for proposal, but some estimates based on scenarios to give people that frame of mind. Because right now we're hearing, if we do or don't do this, it's gonna cause an override because we can't afford it. But if we give, here are some estimated options, 35 plus 96 equals this, 35 plus this, 35 plus bags plus this equals this. That way people have in front of them, here's what the actual impact will be. And here's the line where we now need to go to override because we've now crossed that threshold. I think that's kind of what, it's hard for people to visualize what the impact is because it's just, oh, if we go from this size to this size, we can't afford it. What is it, right? Because even if, like I said, even with the 35-gallon barrel,
Right.
the hauler's still gonna charge us for someone to go out and pick up the bags manually and throw it into their truck. And I very much share Joe's opinion, though. I don't want to see trash all over the streets, certainly. And although it's not a direct comparison, I happened to be driving through Chicopee yesterday, who they have 35-gallon trash bags that are trash barrels that are branded and branded trash bags. And every single house I drove by had bags all over the street in front of their house, the entire length of the street, every
Right.
single house.
Okay.
And I worry that that's what Groveland will look like if we go that route. Maybe there's a cost reason to do that, but I think that's what the town would need to make that informed decision rather than will this work for you? Because no one really has that educated information to say, yes, this will work for me, but if I do this, we can do that kind of
Okay.
decision.
So
right?
I think part of what the education part of this has to be from us out to the public is it's not a matter of when will we hit the threshold for override. We passed it. I mean, we've been cutting positions in town to balance our budget. We can't continue to do that. We have very small staffing on our highway department, police, fire. We don't have a lot of people in the town hall. Most of the offices are one woman or one man. I mean, you only have part-time people on the Board of Health. And you know, you'd like to say, well, we got by with this, can we keep going? No, the complexity and the directives from the state continue to come down, rain down, and there's so much more that a town has to do. Which is why I went to the town administrator, to have somebody, you know, boots on the ground every day here, making those kind of good decisions. And the select board is now more of an executive functioning board, which means, yes, we listen to you. So it's kind of like, what I realize is that there's a misunderstanding of whether the cost of trash fits in the budget. It doesn't. It hasn't for years. We've been exceeding 2.5% on it. And cutting everything expense-wise, no stipends for town board. I mean, we've cut as many things as we can. There's nowhere to go now except that you would have to start seeing loss of services in town, which I don't think this town wants that. I think if we can all work together and come, you know, using the survey results and educating the public and getting more feedback. I don't want to put like 6 options out there and have people, you know, voting on 6 different things. I think that the survey tells us 600 plus people responded. That kind of tells us where people are on this trash issue. And so we now have the responsibility to take that survey data, to organize it, to present it, and then to come forward with how this proposal fits with the survey results. You can't just blindly say, no, we're not going to ignore this. We're not going to pay attention to the survey because we know we have to go smaller. We're going to have to pivot and be flexible. And that's where we are right now. We're just, you know, trying to, you know, quantify the survey. As you can see, some of the questions now still need to be quantified, and then make sure we've got a good enough reading on it. And then also, yeah, I think it might be worthwhile to talk to some of the other towns that have recently gone through the process and see what they're finding out too, because you learn a lot by people that there's not just us going through this, there's every town in the state has been going through this or will be going through this in their next contract. We're not the only ones. I'm gonna let David go and then is that all right? Thank you.
I think it's also important to point out that, you know, you drive around town and we talk about, we have a contract and everybody's at 64 and unlimited recycling. When you look at how people put their trash out, nobody is putting out 64 gallons worth of trash. Everybody's exceeding that. I think we can be honest about that, right?
I disagree.
I don't.
I put up
All right,
64.
so I'll quantify that then. Almost everybody is putting out more than 64.
I mean, I don't even.
I don't either.
No.
I don't either. All right. So a lot of people are putting out more than 64 gallons. You know
Okay.
that. You said it here.
Yeah.
You said that you see a lot of
I
people
take a
do it.
picture of my neighbor's trash
Okay.
to keep me motivated. Yes.
So, and there's some people in here have said tonight that they're putting out 96 gallons of trash every week. So we know that. We know that people aren't abiding by the contract that we currently have. And if people were, we may have less tonnage fees that we have, which may bring those things down. Whether or not we go to 35-gallon containers is still up in the air. But that being said, we have to really comply with what it is we currently have in a contract. And that may help the town in the short term.
Chris, and then you.
Yeah, sorry, real quick, Chris Goodwin, Hillview Drive. I agree with everything you guys are saying. I just think talking at the 1,000-foot level doesn't help anyone see the direction either way. I think anything we go forward to either solicit information or to give people recommend, whatever have you.
I apologize.
If we're not putting numbers in front of that, even estimated numbers.
Yes.
Because I know not everything.
It's, to be honest, it's worthless data.
But-
I mean, and I say that from, I participate in a tremendous amount of procurement exercises for my regular job. Without numbers, sourcing data for procurement purposes is useless.
Exactly, but so what I was saying before is if you, again, with the,
Right.
what would happen is we'd start to put together all the information that led to this moment, you know, so people are educated, but we'd have to have a proposal. And that would go out as a public information session. And people would be invited to come in, Zoom in, whatever, and let us know, what do you think? We did the survey, we're gonna listen to the survey. But then we're also gonna try and work this out because the last thing that I want to do is put the town in a contract that we can't afford over the next 5 years. We have too many other budgets that are also pushing us, you know, and it's unfortunate that trash has become one of the worst offenders, but that's the reality of it. Yes.
So one question I had is, how do we reduce trash? I mean, there's a finite amount of trash that a household
Correct.
creates. How do we, I think that's what we need to learn.
So I do think that's, I think that's part of the education process.
The other,
Asked and answered.
There you go.
the other point I want to make is we're required to put trash in bags, which don't fit nicely in a barrel. So
Okay.
can we talk to Waste Management and say, because it does a couple of things. It's more environmentally sound to not put it in bags, dump the bags or dump your trash from your kitchen directly into a barrel. And that way you can fit enough in a 64-gallon barrel as opposed to fitting it into a bag that doesn't
Yeah.
fit in the 64
I don't think
gallon.
there's a requirement that you use a bag, but I think.
I thought there was.
I think there is
Do
too.
you have a requirement that you have to use a trash bag? You can't just.
Management does.
Yeah.
They do, okay.
Yeah.
I should know that, but I did, that's one fact I did not understand. Okay, yes.
Tracy Theodoropoulos,
Yes.
Hillview Drive.
Hi.
Hi. When you were talking, Joe, about the grant money, if we went with a particular program that you were speaking of that had the grant money, would that grant money be enough to cover a compost
It might,
contract?
that,
It might.
right.
Okay.
There's also
We don't know.
someone who met with us before, and this will come up at our next meeting.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna give you a spoiler alert, that she wants us to sign on a letter to the state to free up more money from the environmental people that we know they have a lot of money to help towns like us find ways to divert. I mean, the other thoughts too is, are there recyclables that right now we can't put out that Waste Management won't pick up? I think there is a little bit of a list. So that's another thought, you know, I think that,
Yeah, they publish it on their website.
you're
Try to
right,
expand that with these.
right, so yes,
So in terms of your idea, in terms of, because I know that sometimes people can make a decision on how it affects their checkbook. So if my wife and I use a 1/4 ton of trash per year, how much will it cost me if I keep using the same amount, not to modify anything, but I still keep my bad habits. I still generate a 1/4 ton per year. How much will it cost me if I use if we phase in a 35-gallon a barrel with the 96 recycle versus a 64 with the 96? Because if we try to price it with the assumption that people will modify their behavior with going with a smaller barrel, it's not gonna come out. But if we just assume people will remain undisciplined, those that say I'm not composting will not compost. So if I go to a 35-gallon bucket with the 96 on the recycling, what will it really cost me? Because now I'm gonna have to buy extra bags.
Right, well, I think that's part of it too, is.
And then you can get a price tag on that, and then you can get a price tag, and like Kathy said, we don't want 6 options. It seems to me there's gonna be 2 options here, folks. Door number 1, 35 and 96, door number 2, 64 and 96. Put a price tag on it, assume that your trash volume doesn't change. That, I think, people can say, now I get it.
Right,
I'll go with this, or I'll go with door number 1 and door number 2.
right. So right now, where it stands is, the task for the committee at hand. We're a recommending committee. We're not gonna vote. We have no authority to vote
Right,
the direction.
you just advise the
Right.
select board, yeah.
So, we do need to, get this data all together. I mean, you saw 60% of the people don't want to move off the 64. That's a strong read. That's a strong read. You gotta take that into account. I'll certainly send those kind of results onto our, we have. What is Brian Walsh's exact title to us? He's
Municipal
our,
Assistance
MAC
Coordinator,
coordinator with Mass DEP.
District 2.
right, so we were granted this expert from DEP to assist us and do scenarios and all kinds of things for us. So he has access to all the other towns in the state. So if you come up with questions that you think we haven't addressed or answered, and he can get us the answers, we're glad to forward these questions to him, because that's what his job is. We have 80 hours. I don't know how many hours.
80,
we
yes.
Chewed up, but
He told me today not to worry about it.
oh, he's great. Good, but so we are getting, we have assistants, we have people who can pull data from other towns. If you're worried, wondering if someone tells you, oh, that's baloney, so-and-so's got this deal, Well, check it out first, because I went into this thinking, oh, we'll just line up these contracts and compare. It's not that simple. Georgetown has a transfer station, Merrimack, people pay for who they want, I think. Boxford is closest to what we might be moving towards, depending on what size barrels you go to. West Newbury recently moved to, you saw the same bids. They have 2 64s, I think.
Townsfield's moving to 35 plus composting.
But they're putting the compost in. We don't have, I don't know that we don't have the money, I don't think, to put that in unless we got a big grant. We need a grant. There you go.
You mean a
So what did you say? Was it Merrimack has 2 64s? Is that recycling?
Merrimack, I think you contract who you,
Yeah,
I think you choose.
some towns have gotten rid of trash
I
pickup.
was just asking
Right,
which one you
Merrimack.
referenced.
Merrimack, I thought you
But
might
Merrimack had
They give you a couple of.
annual fee. Friends of ours over there said they paid an annual fee and they could throw away whatever they want.
I've heard, we'd have to look in, because I've also heard Merrimack, you have to choose who you want. And then that dictates what you do.
Then I heard they had to pay for every single bag,
Yes.
$2 a
Like
bag.
individual.
Yeah, you have to get tons of
You,
bags.
you incur the expense,
Right.
you know, and
Yeah.
Right, but my question actually was,
What?
which town did you reference has 2 64s?
I thought it was.
West Newbury.
Just
West
I drive by, that's what it looks like.
Trash and a recycling.
Yes.
Yeah, they have the same size for both.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the same with Boxford.
yes, Boxford did the same thing too. Yes.
So I think, Elena from Ed Trickle, I think that what the most important thing that we need to remember and to realize is that right now, Groveland is a small town, is being taxed to the nines.
Yeah.
So that any solution that we can come up with, especially if we're gonna go to the automated dumping, we need to spell it out to say, this is not gonna affect your taxes. And we can't expect the town to have to pay for trash bags when supposedly we're saving money doing the automated. So there's gotta be an explanation as to how come if we're saving with the automated, I now have to pay for bags.
Right, so the overflow bags, do you mean, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason for trying to move what would typically be the tonnage is that we can't budget for it. We don't
Right.
know the tonnage. The pickup cost is in the tax rate. And if we're smart about this and we do it right, you will never have to vote another override to have your trash picked up.
But I think,
So we're avoiding a future override for trash, because the only other way to afford that kind of a pickup costs would be with override money. We can't.
But
We can't.
Kathy, I think the point that she's
Yeah.
trying to make is that there shouldn't be an overflow bag if there's automated.
yeah,
But right now,
We have.
regardless, you still have an overflow bag now. If everybody were following the contract and, you know, putting out 264, 232s or a 64, and if they were full, buying the overflow bag, you would still be buying the overflow bag today. So that wouldn't change.
Except it would affect the automation.
Yes, it would.
It's supposed to go.
There would still be a fee,
Right.
you know, of them picking up that overflow bag. There would. But the purchasing the bag wouldn't change.
Right, but we're also trying to move towards a trash budget that won't end up at the ballot. Because what if it fails? What, are we not gonna pick up your trash? Right? No, I mean, so to me, these general overrides, are problematic. Because even if it goes to trash one year, the next year can get gobbled up by some other budget, and then you're right back there. Trying to find money for the trash, for the tonnage. So we have to kind of allow for the fact that we can't adequately budget for tonnage. And that would be the introduction of some type of the overflow bag fee, perhaps a flat, some kind of user fee that reflects the tonnage.
but I think once you say fee
Yes,
to a town
Yeah.
where the taxes are just getting out of hand.
yes,
Where we are, I mean, I'm not gonna go into how much taxes I've paid
yeah,
from day one to 20 years later. I
Right.
think the word fee, is gonna shut everything down.
well, let me just say this for the record. I mean, I've looked at our tax rate compared to other towns and we are below. We are below in our spending in our departments. We are extremely frugal and I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm proud of it. I mean, we make a dollar go far in Groveland. And we've always done that. And we've had some overrides, but not as many as other towns. And for the same kind of house, you would pay far higher taxes right now. So yeah, the fee is maybe gonna be a tough one, but once it's there, then we have a mechanism to deal with tonnage. You know what I mean? We have a way without raising the general taxes. Okay, and the overflow bag would make sure that people that are actually overflowing, whatever the town decides to go with, which will be voted at the select board, whatever the town decides to go with, the overflow bag would be a user fee for anyone that says, I can't do that, I wanna throw out more. So you wouldn't be prohibited from throwing out more, you would just have to buy the overflow bag for it. And again, we're still in the searching and researching and looking for options. And again, if you look around the town, if you look at like the water rates, we used to get money off for paying early, they had to get rid of that, They had to go with some different fees. The electric department used to give us free electricity at Christmas. We had to go with that. We've hung on to this trash for a long time, trying to do the same thing, and I think it would be very problematic to not take a good look at it now. I appreciate all the survey people that did everything. I appreciate you coming here and telling us, talking to us, because it helps us to really fully understand what what you're thinking, okay? And your thinking is completely rational. I would feel the same way if I weren't sitting on this committee for a year, seeing all of this information. And then now I realize, okay, we've got to really explain this problem and get it out there. And as Jen said, we'd like everybody when the decision eventually gets made, whether it gets made this spring or next spring, we'd like people to buy in, so if you have ideas or you talk to people that have things going on in their town that you think could help us, we're open to anything right now. We're really open to that. And again, if you have concerns about what's going on in the state, and we have our state expert, we can forward any questions to him and get answers for you. We can publish them on the town website. Once we get the survey results cleaned up, they'll go on the town website. You know, we're trying to do this as above board as possible, but I also don't wanna flim flam people and say, oh, no, we can make it work. No. We passed that point several years ago. It's just going up so fast.
Will the suggestions that were made here tonight be recorded somehow?
Well,
so that you guys
they'll be
can-
reflected in general in our minutes. We don't write down what everybody says, but this is a recorded on television, so it'll be on YouTube.
Right, but what I'm asking is, will it be taken into consideration?
Of course. No, absolutely. Yes, yes. Yes, we don't put earplugs in. We're listening. Yeah, yes.
Hi, Dennis McNulty, Valley Farm Road.
Yep.
First, thank you guys for doing this because I know it's not an easy task. I have friends that are in the industry and I know that the costs are just going up. So I had a few things, some of them were already answered, but what other town, when you looked at other contracts, what other towns currently are using the 35-gallon 96 in surrounding areas?
Brian gave us a list, but I don't have it. There's like a
I
list.
know Hamilton Wenham has done it. You've said Topsfield's going to it.
Mhm.
We have a list that our expert gave us, but we have too much information right now is what the problem.
Boston go to 35?
What was that?
In Boston?
No.
Hamilton and Wenham did. I remember they were on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be likely minimal. Not many people have done that.
Name-
There's a bunch around the state that are doing it,
Yeah.
you know.
In
it's just-
comparison, and you have to kind of compare,
Yeah.
compare it to.
Right, it's not the majority, if that's what you're asking.
I just-
But there is a movement towards it. There's no question.
And I would say most,
One of the reasons for moving towards this too is equity. You know, like the same, we all pay the same, but like I only put out maybe a bag every week and other people are putting out a 96-gallon trash barrel. So trying to make it equitable for people because we shouldn't all be paying the same for trash.
But we all pay the same for school and.
That is different.
I don't have kids going to. the
I don't
school.
have kids at all, but I do
But I
want
just
society
think you're-
educated. That is not the same when we can absolutely modify our trash output.
Can I finish? Because you
Okay.
kind of jumped on me there.
Stephanie's passionate about it.
Well, that's fine, we all are, but point is, I guess what I'm asking is, you're saying that you shouldn't pay for the good of the town because you only
I
have.
want trash pickup, but I want to pay for my own trash, and I think it's fair that people pay as you throw. Pay for the amount of trash that you put out.
I disagree, but.
Yeah, I think what she's saying is that the actual trash pickup is still the common good that
Right,
will be coming out of our tax base.
Mhm.
And everybody, you know, whether it's a 64 or the 35 and the recycle, that's what you get to put out for your tax base,
right,
for what you're paying in your taxes. And that is for the common good,
right.
because we don't want trash everywhere. We want it picked up.
So,
But the thing is, the excessive trash then would be a user fee.
Yeah, just.
yeah. And I don't have a problem.
I'm sorry, can
Yeah,
Mr. McNulty
I'm
finish?
still not done.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, you're spinning off great conversations.
So the other part of it, and I'd like to, I know we're still drilling down into the numbers, but when we
Yeah.
look at the two of the numbers that I know that jump out, we all talk about what the dump cost is, right? We can't control, it's very difficult to
Yep.
control the dump cost. But the other numbers that stood out that were manually inputted that we haven't been able to look at yet is how many people were over one barrel that we are for limited
Right.
to be able to compare that. I saw a number of 4. So if someone's putting out 4 64-gallon barrels and we're paying for that tonnage, that's where we kind of have to look at
Yes.
those numbers to compare. Because in the trash company itself, whoever it may be, whether it's Waste Management now, they're still taking it.
Right.
Right, and which is beneficial to the person who's throwing it out, because they're saying, hey, they'll take whatever you put out.
And that's the Stephanie's point, that she puts out a bag, they put out 4 of those, and we're all paying for those 4 barrels.
Right,
Correct, we're
Yeah.
paying the tonnage.
Right.
So
right.
the policing part, so my point was, the
Right.
policing part of it, I don't know how that's done.
There's been no.
We are,
Can't-
we are a small town, the same people, a lot of doing the same things, very difficult to do, but that is probably one of the biggest things is to police the tonnage on people just throwing bags out there. And I hate saying that, right? If I want to be able to throw out an old vacuum that my wife breaks 4 times a year, right now, I hope that he takes it.
That
But
your wife breaks?
wow, yeah, yeah, 100%. She like, that's what she loves to do. She loves to do it.
Okay,
Maybe she's trying to tell us she doesn't want to vacuum.
You own it. TJ, what kind of mess do you make? I told you, I have 3 young kids, 6 and under. It's dirty and but anyway. You want to be able to get rid of it and it adds up. So, but if he's taking it, whoever the
Trash guy is.
it adds on to the tonnage.
Right.
Right? I know that I shouldn't be throwing it in there. I haven't thrown it in there, right? I have little breaking pieces down to be able to get it into the bin
Yeah,
at my 64. I'm over 250 pounds. I am leaning on top of my 64-gallon barrel to be able to get it in. If we do a clean out of the kids' toys one time and we can't donate them, they're broken. You throw 1 extra bag of toys in there. Now I don't have the room for the trash for the end of the week. So that's the concern. So I'm all for 64. And at least even if we try to break it down, or if there's a cost difference for someone who doesn't use a 64 and can go to a 35, but you can't do that based on the tax burden. So I don't know if there's any type of breaks. I don't know what options there are, but I'm glad that you guys are kind of looking into it and hearing us out and going from there.
sure.
So
Good. I think we've kind of, I was gonna say trash.
I think you have your hand up.
I thought that
Yeah,
was
well, just again, I think that it's a question of, there's 2 bills. People have to understand this. Everybody has to understand there's 2 bills. The one bill is really easy. It's negotiated. It's getting the guy to show up at the house and pick it up automated. It's got an easy price tag on it. Kathy said 3 times, we can put it into the tax base. We're never gonna have to ask for an override. Rebecca's gonna do an amazing job to negotiate that deal every few years. The other thing is the trash. So is it a question of, we're gonna use a small barrel and then I, as an individual, pay extra money on my own for my extra trash? Or is it gonna go to the larger barrel where my trash will be accommodated at the town's expense? It's 2 prices. If we can price it out and present it to the public, 35 with 96, I'm sorry, 35 with 92 barrel or 64 with 92, then those are the 2 price tags. I think it'll help this committee get a feel as to how to make a final recommendation so that the select board can make a final decision. It's door number 1, door number 2, 35 and the big barrel or 64 and the big barrel. The little barrel, the individual is gonna have to pony up money, as the woman said. She's gonna have to pay a fee because she throws out more trash than I do. Or we can get it all with mostly nobody paying extra if we can get the 64 instead. It's 2 bills.
And we're still working on it. We're still working on it. So we got a ways to go. The survey is good. We need to get a better read on it.
Yes, yeah, so I shared a file and I was starting to clean things up a little
Thank you
bit.
so much.
I sent you what I did so far. I had like 10 minutes during my lunch break to quickly look at it.
The best.
Thank you.
But I'll make this a lot better, but you can see like column, like C, the purple ones there, those are the original, and then I started cleaning the data. So for
Okay,
column C, people were writing 35 gallons, 64. I was just putting the straight up numbers in there.
okay.
And then what I found interesting, so column D, and then you see column, which one is it? Column H, right?
Yep.
That's the number of barrels, and I had the total trash. What was interesting to me with this is that I think some people maybe don't understand how many gallons their trash is. Because there was one that was a household of 1 that had like 420 something gallons of trash. I don't think that's really happening, but
What is that column I, total trash? What is that supposed to be?
I took the gallons, if they
Oh,
said
and
it
you
is
added them
64 gallons,
together,
and
what
then
they
they
were
s-
putting out, okay,
yes.
and just trash.
just to give just trash.
Okay, okay.
Recycling, there wasn't an ask of how many recycling units
Yeah.
that they use. For me, I think the large recycling seems like it's a
Yeah, that's
winner
a
for
win, yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to kind of compare that to, I didn't do those other columns. If you keep going, I think it's column T. How many members were in your household?
Yeah,
This was another free text one.
yeah,
People, adding 4 adults and how many children.
yeah.
People were adding pets. I totally get that. 2 years ago, I had 2 cats, and anyone that has cats Yeah, it's
That's
gross, yes, with litter. So I get it. But I think it'd be interesting to see how many members in the household versus their total amount of trash
Yeah.
and get a gauge of where you're at. So the average one person household has an average this amount of trash. It'll also give you sort of that fine line between, what would work with a 35 gallon? So a one household, yeah, 2, 3, where is that break where
Yeah.
it would probably go to the 64?
Yep. Okay.
Also keeping in mind the ones where they said even the barrels that they have, it's still not enough.
Right.
That there is overflow. So there's definitely some layers here to look at. I also think looking at that age of the household is, could be a factor as well, just to understand
Right.
their,
Right.
their method of throwing things away. But the household size, I think, is the biggest thing, even from listening here. I think the household size is like the biggest, hurdle, I guess. you could say.
Variable?
Yeah, the biggest
Yeah.
variable, yes. Because I understand, like, I'm a family of 2, but like, with one senior elderly dog. So my world is, puppy pads, unfortunately. But 2 years ago, is a family with 3, 2 cats and the dog. So I get the fluctuation in what I threw away.
Okay.
And just on that, where we talk about, I have a family of 5.
Mhm.
You, and just for an example, you have a family of 2. And if that's your case, but if you said you had 3 kids in the before, whereas another couple only had 2, now you're out to 2 and someone else has 5. So it kind of,
Right.
that's the whole plan of you.
Right.
The community is helping each other, and you
Right.
don't say, well, I only have this, so I'm only paying for this, because at one point you weren't using it and someone else is paying for you. It's kind of this, you hope that that's a cycle and kind of society helping
Right.
each other out. That's the
Right.
whole point.
Right.
Money is a much tighter thing now and it's more difficult,
Yep.
but I just, that's one of the things when you say it's,
Yeah.
you have 2, then you have 3, it's kind of a cycle.
Right.
Yeah, things change.
And then they come back home.
That could happen, yep.
Change the law.
Change the locks.
Sometimes they never leave.
Okay. So I can keep working on this, if
Yes.
that's okay, and putting some charts together, if that's,
That would be
unless
awesome.
you love doing that, some people just, okay, then I'm gonna
Sounds great.
run with
No, we have
that.
so much else we're doing.
Okay, all right, I don't want to take anything away.
You can tell by the look on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we want to look at the tonnage trends. I think we have to look at those. I know the state has said that as far as tonnage per household, we're over the average in the state.
Mhm.
That was the other thing I was wondering.
Right, so we want to put something together on that to
Yeah.
try and say, okay, so what can we do to be more on the average or under the average?
Right.
household?
We're in the red zone now, right?
2,000 pounds. Do you have that data by household size too? So it'd be interesting, like the one household has, roughly, 60 gallons of trash. How does that compare to a one-person household in other communities? Do they have that?
Ryan has that.
Has he? Because that would
Yeah.
be interesting to see, too.
Yeah.
Not to
Yeah,
shame anybody, but.
No,
just
if
have
you
an
want to write it
understanding.
up in that fashion, we
Yeah.
could forward that to him. And I'm pretty sure he has just about everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't have that data.
Yeah, no, that's,
No, well, that's why we have him
Yeah.
with us too, because we can't possibly grab all these pieces at the same
You
time.
could put price tags on.
right. Well, that's I think what you guys brought up a great point. I think having a visual is everything, right? There's too many words. You lose me.
Yeah.
Show me a chart, show me a one-person household. If we keep it as is, what's that gonna cost me? 35 gallon, 64
Yeah.
gallon. We have the data. We know what an average one household person does.
We can expand the trend if people want to see that. It's
Yeah. Cause then
really
they,
expensive.
because then they can relate to it,
Okay.
right? They can point, I'm a family of 4. Okay, here's my column. So
Yeah.
here's what's gonna cost me if we keep it as is. That doesn't sound good. Okay, so if I do 35, what will that cost me?
Right.
Because I think a lot of it, we talk about what it costs the town, and I know that's really important. Trust me, select board member, like I get it. But I think as a resident, it's what is it gonna cost me? What is it gonna cost my family? And I think that's just, I know that might be a little bit difficult to do, but ideally that would be, I think, what people could relate to. And that would really help them understand the intention of what you're trying to do and why you're making the decision or the recommendation that you're doing.
Right, but we also may need to step back and just say, okay, we're going for the first time from throw everything you want out and they pick it all up because it's in its management's best interest to take it all and give us the bill. We have no control over that. And we have no way to police that. You know, what are you gonna do? Leave people's trash on the front yard? We're not gonna do
I
that.
thought DJ was gonna police it. I thought that was a volunteer thing, no? No?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Yeah, so, if we went to something that was more standardized, we could at least attempt to audit at times, have somebody in the town staff drive around and take a look, see, make sure that, you know, if the people are violating, they get a warning, or that they're not just picking up everything, because that's not fair. You know, we want to be fair and we want it to be priced well, and we also want it to last. We don't want to have to go through this over and over again. But it may be that we have to make an interim step on our way to smaller barrels. I mean, or you may have to offer both. I mean,
Smaller barrels will be 15 years down the road then.
I don't know about that. I look at, you know, we've made a lot of changes in town, very,
Have we though? I don't
Yeah.
know if there was any education after we already limited the barrels last time. It doesn't seem like anybody changed their
no,
behavior.
we couldn't, because we realized that the waste management wasn't gonna do anything. They just picked it all up. We never thought it all the way through to that point. But on the other hand, it was waste management that pointed out to us that our previous contract allowed 4 barrels.
Yeah,
They said, you're the only town in the state. And we're like, oh my God.
and people
No
still.
wonder
put
our
it out.
tonnage is so high.
Sure.
I had no idea. I mean, you know, you don't look at every. Yeah, 4 barrels. We were the only
A lot
one.
of trash.
And that was
Yeah.
during the pandemic,
Gross.
when everybody was home.
How often do you get the tonnage numbers? Do you get it
Monthly.
monthly?
Yeah.
We get it monthly.
Okay,
So we can like create something on that,
yeah,
on the trend. Yep.
right, absolutely. Or, yeah, just,
Definitely. And we can divide it by households, but that's what Brian's done already.
yeah.
Rebecca, is this us or Wilbraham, New Hampshire?
You can do
Yeah,
that.
it is Groveland, Mass. Yeah.
That is Groveland right there.
Holy blankety blank. That's good.
Yes, we have an amazing amount of data. We're just trying to figure out, you know, how to bring it into something realistic.
It's a fire hose too. I mean, you're getting info from everywhere.
I know, it's so much stuff. And then again, the contracts are not similar from one town to another. There's all kinds of little changes. And again, our town administrator is working also to make sure that if something doesn't go well, we can collect damages from whoever we contract with, which we don't have that now, as we well know from some of the times when things weren't going well. So we're trying to set this town up for a smooth ride after we make what will probably be, you know, a change of some form.
Yeah, I think to Rebecca's point, I think data is power, right? And I think even at just the town level, because that's what impacts everyone's taxes and budgets and overrides and
Yeah.
like that. Having that data of this equals that is where the recommendation needs to come from. Because until you have that, a recommendation is not able to be formed.
Yep,
No matter what anyone's opinion is on anything big or small. Without that level of data, isn't enough information
Well,
to
you-
give a recommendation.
it's a difficult situation because you know it's a negotiation. Right, so you don't just negotiate with someone and then just go, oh, well, we're gonna use this as one of our options. You know, they're not gonna put forth a proposal unless they think we're serious. So
No,
to your
believe me,
point that
I
we
just took it
can't
through our
do, and
negotiations.
we can't make any decisions, we're gonna have to bring this into something feasible decision-wise in order to give the town administrator the ability to negotiate for us. Cause, I mean, your businessman, would you negotiate with someone that's just looking for options?
No, and
You wouldn't waste your time, right? I
No,
mean,
and that's what I mean. I think the more
Yeah.
data we can give her to make that,
yes.
the better.
Right, so hopefully what we'd eventually bring to select board would be a more complete package. And ask, you know, to have this go forward, let the town administrator go forward and attempt to negotiate these options. And so we're working on that, and we appreciate everybody's time, because I mean, there's nothing more fun than coming out when it's absolutely freezing out.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys doing it.
No, I thank you.
You have Brian Walsh's slides on here. Did
What's
you?
that?
You have
Oh,
Brian
thank you.
Walsh's slides on here.
Nice to
Were you gonna present those or something?
No, I have them on the agenda.
January 9th.
Oh,
Review presentation slides from Brian Walsh.
Oh, because he had more stuff on them. We've run out. Thank you so much. Yeah, we've run out of time tonight. I'm sorry. Yeah. You know what it was, is he did a very recent presentation.
Yeah, just.
I'll move
Yeah,
that.
shit, all over the neighborhood.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Nice
He-
job. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, he had a lot more information. So what I'm
Good job.
hoping, I mean, you guys are brilliant minds, is looking through that, looking through Brian's slides,
But I'm willing.
Ask Oxford.
trying to come up with a
$35 and then
to
you have to
put
pay
together
Get that, and you have that option.
to make this
It hurts.
a viable
Yes, one, but I might buy it.
proposal, because I think right now we don't have a viable proposal.
No, not
You
yet.
know, and again, you had to start somewhere. We had to run into the board and start something going. Or nothing would happen. So
They get.
Well, I think
They don't-
the important,
that report will give you some ideas and Brian's slides as well.
Brian's slides, but also I think this is a really good,
And this, oh, I made a copy.
educational.
And this is on our
touchpoint.
website too.
You know what I mean?
When they're, you went out there.
And it's one size on it.
Ouches.
But at
Matter
least
of fact, They didn't give a shit.
This is different.
that's the report. Take that.
Are these both the same?
Oh, that's the same, yeah.
The length of my-
It should look the same. Why does it look different? Did I staple it wrong?
No, but now
Oh,
I feel
God.
like a.
Look at them all, see if I stapled some.
Anyway, I think that this is a good way to know where we have to
Oh, yeah.
aim our education.
Already.
Right, so what I would like to see us
Make
aim
money and see you later.
at some point,
I'm sorry, I can't focus right now.
Sorry.
I'd like to aim towards a,
It was over.
there's been some talk on the select board, and of course, they can say yeah or nay, about having a public hearing. I like the idea of a public information session
Yes,
better
yes,
than calling it a hearing.
Yes.
But, I don't think we're ready for that yet, because we have to get these survey results really
yes.
kind of consolidated. And the survey is still running, so do we want to tell the board to keep it open, or do we want to? I mean, you'll have to truncate what you're doing at some point.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you can just let the other stuff pile up, I guess.
Mhm.
How long has it been open now?
Since before Christmas, so before the holiday.
I don't think I'd give it too much more time, maybe another week. I mean, most surveys aren't open more than 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, okay, I don't know, I'm not a surveyor right now, but,
30 days is usually, is a typical time.
okay.
Yeah.
So do you think we need
45.
the select board to vote on that?
Yes, the select board
Yeah,
wanted
they're
the
gonna wanna
survey,
roll
the select board should vote to close it.
Yeah,
You can make it a clean January 31st.
You're right.
When I talked to Brian today, I said, we're very cognizant of the limited amount of time we have with you. And he said 80 hours is a lot of time, not to worry about it. He's happy anytime we need him to like zoom in,
okay,
because it's a little bit of a drive. So if he could zoom, that'd be great, but he's happy to come up, obviously.
good.
Anytime we need him to for any of these public information sessions.
Good. Well, this was good. I mean, we looked at our survey results. You get people here, people talking, and that's what we have to start. I mean,
Great.
in other towns, they went out to the Council on Aging, to other places. So eventually but I think we have to create some kind of a presentation that can go out before you
Yes.
could,
Right.
otherwise we'll just be, tripping over. So,
I agree. What else did he say? That we have really high trash output. If we could get it down from 2,000 to 1,600, he would
That's,
Oh,
be
that's what he said.
overjoyed
that's the goal.
per household.
oh, is that a goal? Is that-
Yes,
What is that based on?
hit our current numbers of 2,000 per
No, but
household.
what is the goal number based on? Is that like an average for the state or what?
I didn't ask that question. Need to create
I
a
mean,
presentation.
Can anybody like calculate approximately if you put out 64 full every week, how many times the number of households, how many tons that is?
I find it hard to believe that 64 is the average that people have, because
Oh, it is.
it's such a giant barrel.
Oh, yeah.
And that would mean that everybody has this.
I think when you're looking at.
I have one of those crappy little round ones with the cover that flies down the street in the wind. It's like this size.
You go
Yeah, the round
Do
ones.
people really
How many
know?
households do we have?
What's that?
How many households?
600, is it?
About 22,200 kind of thing.
Somewhere.
Yeah, 2,200.
I have a
It's on our
64,
website
but
somewhere.
I never,
141,000 tons a week
like two
at
beds.
64 gallons
141,000 tons for everybody.
for the town. If it's at 2,200 households at 64 gallons, it's 141,000 gallons of trash
And convert that to tons.
tons.
And how do you convert that to tons?
I don't know, because that's
Google.
volume.
I know, well, that's what I'm asking.
Google.
There's,
That's
There's
Brian.
a way.
Brian knows everything.
yes, that's what I mean. Cause I mean, if you can, like,
2,210 units.
what,
2,210 units.
2210 tons?
Oh, no, households.
Units, yeah, household.
Household.
Oh, so it
That's
is.
the exact number.
That includes
1,210.
duplexes.
Yep.
Yeah,
For the
units, yeah, single family. and
Yeah.
family.
So I'm just thinking to put things into more reality, like if we're over the state average, then we must be doing more than that.
Right.
Well, that's because we know people aren't abiding by it.
Right, so I mean, I think that kind of a fact has to come out. And the people that are, you know, at 64 will say, oh, I didn't know other
This
people
is
would.
what I
talk
mean.
about
We
it."
can fine tune our education focus now.
I
Because
wa-
we
I
have the
walk
survey.
in my neighborhood and I see 2 of those full of trash and 1 of those for recycling. Every other house.
I mean, my neighbor has the little cart and then he has like 4 of those 64-gallon things overflowing with trash.
Wow.
I don't know how that, but this is what I mean. We have to, I don't think any education happened after the last
I
rollout.
think we could potentially do a random audit with Waste Management and point out all of the households that have exceeded what the policy is that we provided them back in 2021 and present them the data and say, well, if we gave you a policy, then why are these households as documented showing that they have X amount of barrels when we know that it's one family, not a duplex, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then ask them to explain to us why they're not enforcing the bylaw and or providing the tickets like they said they would, which is why we would get an excessive amount of calls if in fact they were policing that.
Well, they're not.
But that's what I
So-
mean, we could do an audit and provide for them.
How would that audit, what would that look like? Would that
What
be
would it-
Stephanie driving around at 6 o'clock in the morning and looking at people's trash because I volunteer?
I think that could be very much the case.
Okay.
I don't see why we couldn't provide them documentation that they're not providing on the pickup that they're supposed to.
Right, I mean,
Okay.
they go beyond just not following it, they pick up
Everything.
everything. I
Yeah.
mean, I've driven past households that were moving, you know, clearly moving, that real, that's the one that really bothers me when they don't.
They
hire-
get paid for it, they're gonna do it.
Yes, that's the first thing that David told us. At his first meeting was there's no incentive for them not to.
Do the random audit with the understanding that at the next contract, we will provide liquidated damages for when we do our random audits and for every single household that's found to be have picked up, they have to pay us a certain amount of money.
Yeah. Right.
Okay,
It's the same type of thing of a missed pickup. If you're picking up too much, then you pay for the tonnage. We're not gonna pay for the tonnage, but we have to organize those random audits because they're not gonna be every day. We don't have the capacity and or the monies to do that. But if we
Right.
have a volunteer, if we can figure something
Yeah.
out, we could do that and try and get them to be honest so that we don't have to do them as frequently. Just like an audit, like a financial audit. They don't pull every single financial document.
okay.
I mean, when we did drop down, if you put out 2 the following week or a couple months later and they were still taking it, all right, well, they're still taking it, I'm just gonna
Right.
keep putting it out.
Right.
When, no matter what
Learned
education you
behavior.
give, as long as they keep taking it, they're just gonna keep putting it out.
Right,
I don't think there's any incentive for people to do I mean, it's not to do the right thing, really, to like, I was reading somewhere, did I send that, who did I send that to, where when they put gold stars on the people who were doing it right, they had improved behavior? No, on their trash barrels, they put,
yeah.
did I send that to
You
you?
send that to me, yeah.
And I mean, maybe, do we positively reinforce the right thing? Maybe that would help.
gold stars.
Apparently it worked wherever it happened.
I don't know.
If they're doing the right thing already.
Town crier, when that comes out, oh my God, I don't think I could read those.
Look at the town crier. Why?
Well, I
Same,
went to look
yeah.
to see if people were not getting internet the other day because my internet has been in and out.
I don't look at that I don't have Facebook anyway, so it doesn't matter. I don't
Same.
pay attention to
All
that.
right, how we doing?
We need to vote the minutes.
Yes, just the minutes now.
I'm gonna
Are the minutes,
abstain.
I don't know, I often wonder if I'm putting enough in the minutes, too much in the minutes. So I might kept it brief because it was really just talking about the survey and I put a couple examples of the questions that we
Minutes
struggled
should-
with.
Should not be direct quotes of people ever.
Okay,
Because we record them, so you have the
Sure.
transcript, and if the minutes try to.
I don't think I
quote
put
people
direct
and you
quotes
get
in
it
here.
wrong.
No.
Yeah.
okay, good.
But if you're just putting in, the topics and what the sentiment was or what the concerns are, that's perfect. And like when you had this many people here tonight, just to list the concerns that were raised is fine, just to say, this was a concern, this was a concern, that's
Okay.
fine. And you can look at the tape, but you don't have to say like every person, because most of them said some of the same concerns.
Yes,
I'm paying this much taxes. Why do I have to pay more? And you can leave things as an open-ended question. You don't have to answer questions in the
Okay.
minutes. You know what I
Okay.
mean? It's not it's just to capture the essence so that, this was a meeting and people went to.
is this adequate
It's
for
perfect.
last week or for last
This
month?
is-
I move we accept the minutes of
Okay.
December 12th, 2023.
I abstained.
Yeah, they were.
Oh,
I'll
you weren't
second it.
here.
I was here. I second it.
Okay, good.
Okay, so, wait, we don't have enough to vote? Oh, yes,
Yeah,
we
we
do.
do.
No,
Yeah, we have
Okay,
a
all in
quorum.
favor.
Oh,
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, we can take a motion to adjourn
Moved.
one abstain.
at 7:36 PM. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Thank you. And before we adjourn, I'm thinking next meeting is in a month in February, but anybody who wants to coordinate with anybody else in between is fine as long as it's not a quorum.
To do what? What are we coordinating about?
Well, Becky's working on data.
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue working on summaries of tonnage and costs and more on the questions that we sent to Brian, make sure we got straight out whether we get or don't get grants when we move from one size to the other,
Yeah,
quantify that.
as long as we don't have the meeting the week of
What?
February 9th, because I
Okay.
might go
Yeah,
someplace.
the school vacation week, can we avoid?
Is that
That's
school
usually the
vacation?
third- No,
February
the
9th?
third week is, so probably the week after the 9th, we'll try for something. I'll put some dates out,
It might not be your school vacation.
Well, what about the first week, like
maybe the first week,
the week of Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day, great.
So should I send the data to both of you, like when I've cleaned it up, just,
Yes.
okay,
Well, I'm thinking because Rebecca's not on the committee, when she does any work, it's not a violation.
okay,
So we can send information.
okay. You're my middle
I realize
person.
this
That works.
went
Yes.
out.
Can I make a
Highest
request
trash
that,
December.
can you just make sure that outside emails can get access to the SharePoint? Because I tried to
You
get on
still-
it, I
you
couldn't get in
The
there.
team,
There's-
I'm having trouble with.
I have to go to that link that you sent me like last year.
Yes, that's what I
That's
use.
the only way
That's
that
the
I
only
can
way
get
to
there.
I think I still must have the link. Send him the link that
Let
I
me see
can,
if I can find it.
because that's how I get in. Then I just bookmarked it. So I don't go in like the Teams.
I didn't go in through Teams. I went in through that link you sent tonight with the data in it.
Oh, and it didn't get you to the data.
No, I went, I mean, I had to sign into Microsoft, but
Oh, it asked me to sign in. I said, no, thanks.
It's probably, 'cause you have to
Did you
be in
say
the.
no to the sign in?
I'll try it.
Am I adjourning?
Yes, all in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
David Greenbaum.